This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222. Hi there, I'm Professor Michael Chapman. I'm a very experienced fertility specialist. I've been in the field for nearly 40 years, and I've seen IVF go from being an experiment on a few patients through to now being a regular event in women's lives, to the point where now in Australia 1 in 17 babies is actually born through IVF. Over that time, I've estimated to have created over 3,500 babies through my treatments. So, very experienced. What's exciting at the moment is that I and 4 other doctors have set up a new IVF clinic with the latest technology, the best staff, and we're getting results. We've only been open for 12 weeks and we already have 20 pregnancies on our hands. So we're very, very happy. So this is Life Fertility Sydney. It's the name of the clinic. You can find us on the internet under that name, Life Fertility Sydney, Fertility Clinic Sydney. So tonight I thought we'd talk about 2 or 3 different topics. The first one, which is interesting, that so many patients come to me and say, I'd love to have twins. And that why don't we put 2 embryos back? So when I first started doing IVF, we were putting 2, 3, 4 embryos back inside the uterus because each of them had a relatively low chance of success. Technologies in terms of the laboratory were not anywhere near the standards that they are today. We know a lot more about what makes a good embryo. So we were putting those numbers back to get even a reasonable chance of pregnancy. Reasonable in those days, go back to 1990, reasonable was 10 to 15%. We're now talking about 35 to 40%. And that those numbers, the most recent numbers, are about single embryo transfers. So why did we go away from multiple embryo transfers? Well, because our technology got better with embryos, we ended up with lots and lots more twins. So in Australia, we peaked in about 2002, where 1 in 5 pregnancies created by IVF was a twin pregnancy, 22%. In some countries around the world, it reached over 50%, which is staggering. And some people would say, well, that was good because in one cycle, you've enabled the couple to have perhaps all the children they ever want. And from a financial point of view, in terms of going through IVF, isn't that a good thing? Well, the fact is, it's not. The fact is that twins are not a good obstetric outcome. The problem with twins is that the rate of preterm delivery, deliveries less than 32 weeks, account for around about 30% of all twin pregnancies. And if you deliver before 32 weeks, you double the risk of one of those babies dying. In addition to that, you have a 4 times increased risk of your baby or one of those babies having cerebral palsy, being damaged for the rest of its life, compared with a single pregnancy. So we definitely do not encourage double embryo transfer. The management of twin pregnancy is a tricky one and needs to be handled in specialist hospitals. because of that risk of preterm delivery. We in Australia have moved almost ahead of the world in terms of single embryo transfer, which is regarded as the gold standard these days because of that risk to the babies. There also is a financial issue around it because every preterm delivery, premature delivery, ends up as a neonatal intensive care unit. And even in Australia, the cost per day of a baby in intensive care is $25,000 to $30,000 a day, with staffing and all of the paraphernalia that's required to keep a baby alive when it's very premature, and still end up with bad outcomes. So we don't ever promote a double embryo transfer. In 2002, where I said Australia reached a peak in its twin pregnancy outcomes due to double embryo transfer, we were doing around about 75% double embryo transfers.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey podcast from the navigation menu.